The sun no longer sets on Nigerians. This is because Nigerians can now be found in virtually all nations and regions of the world. In Tall Drums, we bring you stories of Nigerians making remarkable contributions to the improvement of the human condition. Here is your host, Dr. Ugoji Ugoji.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Tall Drums. In December 2005, Dr. Victor Ukpolo entered the history books in the United States, becoming the first Nigerian-born academic to head a university in the country. The Southern University at New Orleans in the state of Louisiana announced that Dr. Victor Ukpolo had become its chancellor. In this episode, we bring you the story of a young man born in Ajegunle who left Nigeria to pursue education and a career in academia. On the path to his present position, he served as a dishwasher, a security guard, and a taxi driver in the Washington, D.C. area. But when we went to New Orleans to interview him recently for this program, everyone, including the Tall Drums crew, simply called him the Chancellor.
Tall Drums is presented by Sungai Corporation, publishers and consultants.
Well, actually I was born at Ajegunle in Lagos.
Okay.
So those of you that know Lagos, you know that is the jungle city, as they refer to it in Nigeria.
Right.
And I went to Ararami Elementary School. I think it's right by Kirikiri Road, if it's still there. I would think the road is still there.
Okay.
And my childhood was really a fond memory for me because it was basically filled with hard work, values, and determination to succeed, keeping to your words, honesty, and a few times I veer out of those. I got my lessons at home.
Where are your parents from?
From the Delta area. Actually, my mom and dad are from Efron in close to Warri.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your mom's full name is?
Gladys Ukpolo.
Okay.
Yes.
And your dad?
Samuel
Ukpolo.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so, after your elementary school, where did you attend high school at?
I went to United Christian Secondary Commercial School. That's what it's known at that time.
Right.
Now it's known as United Christian Secondary School. As a matter of fact, I just received about 2 weeks ago a certification that they've appointed me into their secondary school Hall of Fame.
Oh, I see.
So I've got to send a big check, I guess. I'm one of 10 children.
Okay.
And my parents are, very blessed, but not. We are financially challenged, but everything else I believe we are rich on. That's basically what drove me to where I am today. Mm-hmm. If I had to do it again, I would not do it any differently. Yeah. So I've always dreamt of coming to America to go to school because I've read about it.
Right.
As a matter of fact, when I was in high school, one of the first influence in my life was a Peace Corps lady from the U.S. I don't know what her name is right now, but
right.
I can see her right now. She was teaching me English. And she used to have us over at her home, for just reception and stuff like that. She talked fondly about America, and that I got hooked then about the U.S.
And your impressions at that time about America was?
It was great. I thought, with what she was saying and what we were reading, I love to just write to embassies for them to send me materials about the countries. and I wrote to the U.S. at that time. I think I was in the maybe 9th or 10th grade to the U.S. and they sent me impression about the U.S. I read about it. In addition to what this lady was telling us, I was excited about it. And I thought maybe someday I will be able to get there to go to school.
Right.
Given the fact that the impression I had was if you have all the right values, you can make it. And it's not going to be easy, but if you have the right values, and I believed at that time that I did have the right values to be able to push it through. In '72, I was ready to go on leave, on vacation. After I work in a year, you have about 2 weeks vacation that you have to take. So I had my 2 weeks vacation. And I didn't know what to do. I said, well, I'm going to go home and just relax, as I've been doing the last 3 years. A friend of mine came in and said, look, I'm heading down to Kaduna to see if you can get a visa to go to the U.S. I said, really? I said, can I come along? He said, sure, come along. I arrived in New York, and my first impression, of course, everything has been great in terms of my impression about the U.S. But as a Nigerian, you will appreciate this next story, which, our cops don't carry gun back home.
Right.
I mean, we just like the constables in Britain. Right. The first person that I see coming across, as soon as I step up the tarmac, going to my to get my luggage. I mean, to move to the next terminal to travel to Washington D.C. Was a cop. I was a gun beside him. I was scared stiff. I said, I couldn't believe it. I said, "Wait, what's going on?" So after that incident, and the guy was just walking calmly and walked by me, and I said, okay, that's just the first impression that I got in terms of that kind of situation, crime, security, the importance that is given in this part of the world, unlike our situation where crime and security at that time don't have that much level of attention because it was assumed that everything was okay. And not the same here. So I flew to Washington, D.C. When I got to D.C., I took a cab to where I was supposed to stay. And that is another point in my life when I know again someone is also looking out for me, in the sense that the person I was coming to see is now a doctor, Dr. Gorgie, a friend of mine that left Lagos before I did, about 6 months prior. And he said, whenever you come in, if you want, I just said, I would like to come. He said, whenever you come in, just stop by. I guess he just said that assuming that it's not going to happen. Then suddenly I'm knocking at the door, here am I. So wait a minute, I didn't mean for you to stop by, but hey, guess I'm here now. So unfortunately, as it turned out, he himself don't even own that home. He was staying with his uncle. So here now the uncle is taking care of him. He took him in, and now taking a friend of his nephew in. So I stayed at the basement for six months, then went on to get an apartment.
Tall Drums is presented by Sungai Corporation, publishers and consultants.
So you essentially started working at some point.
Yes.
What was your first job?
Well, I was a dishwasher.
Okay.
I came here, actually that's one part I forgot, that when I left Lagos, I was able to save enough money to buy my ticket, but I had no pocket money. And my mom and my dad was able to rally together and give me $200. So when I got to Washington, D.C., I was able to take a cab home to where I was supposed to be. And then right after that, within about a week or two, I had to begin to try to find something to do. And first is to apply to convert my business visa to student visa. So I went ahead and applied to a school at that time, DC Teachers College. It's now part of the University of the District of Columbia. So once I applied to convert, then I began to think about, okay, how am I going to continue to feed myself? So that was when the people I was staying with helped me to be able to navigate the area where I got the dishwashing job. And I think basically it was by 11th, and I still remember the restaurant's not there anymore, but I still remember the site. I actually took my kids there when I went to DC to point out to them where I got my first job. Between 11th and 12th, between 13 and 14 on Elm Street.
At the college, you were admitted to study what?
I was just taking, I went into the general education courses, knowing that my ultimate goal was to become an economist.
So you did that at the first degree level?
I did that all the way. I did that at the first degree level at the University of Maryland, College Park, where I got my first degree. And I then moved on across the street in Washington, D.C. still, to American University for a master's degree. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Nigerian government, because after I finished my master's degree, they stepped in and gave me scholarship to go all the way for my PhD. Yes.
And you did your PhD where?
American University.
Okay. Then after your PhD, I guess you got into your career in college, in academia, essentially.
Yes. But before then, what happened was that after I worked as a dishwasher, I saw that was a tremendous challenge in terms of being able to study and do all that. So I moved on. I worked as a security guard, and that allowed me to be able to study at night. Because when I go work at the building, the owners will allow me to study while And then during my PhD, I figured that I'm going to need some flexibility in terms of addressing my dissertation, writing papers, and all that. So I became a cab driver in Washington, D.C. And that's what I did until I got my PhD. And then I toured with the idea of going back to Nigeria, still driving taxi. But I went back. I talked to colleagues at Ahmadu Bello University. They gave me employment there. But my parents were very much concerned about my welfare at that time and security, because at that time the security situation has become so bad.
What year was this around?
This was around 1985, 1986, 1987. It was so bad that they said, we need you to stay alive, we need you to help us out. We'd like to have you here, but we believe that it's best if you just go and do what you got to do. And and I saw that to be something that is also very relevant. And an additional piece why I also decided to stay back is that at that time I began to, I met a lady that I liked, and from the United States, and we decided to make a life together, and rest is history.
Right. And the lady is your wife now?
Yes.
And what's her name again?
Fawn, Dr. Fawn Ipolo. She's also a PhD.
Okay. I want to fast forward to academia, when you entered academia in terms of your career path.
Yes.
At which university or institution was that, the first one?
Yes, my first employment in the academic area is at Austin Peay State University, which is in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I went there, I think 1987, 88, as an assistant professor of economics. Okay. And you just have to work. As I said, I believe that the work ethic and the determination to succeed got me through that initial challenge, because it was new, and the school was actually trying to diversify, integrate, bring in African Americans, and some of the challenges that you face there, even as a faculty member, as an African American, it's tough, but we have to go through all that.
Right.
And I was lucky that I stayed in that school from the assistant professor level, which is the entry level in the teaching in the professorial rank, all the way to professor. within an 8-year period, which is tremendous. And that was because of my determination to ensure that my academics, credentials, and qualifications and productivity see me through the day. Because I knew if I don't have that, it would be difficult for me to get through with other things that that you might be thinking. But that itself, I did that for me.
All along during your teaching career, did you think you would become or go into college management or school administration, essentially?
No, I mean, it's just by accident. I mean, the thing is, I wanted to make sure that I secure my role as an accomplished professor in the field of economics. I mean, my wife, if she's here, she'll tell you. I was always in the library, trying to write this or that, publish, having meetings with my students. But as it happened, the school hired a new president from California that came in. His first year as president, during the commencement, graduation, I won the Scholar of the Year that year. And I was the Researcher of the Year. And after giving it to me, the next week he called me and said he would like to see me. He asked if I would join him as executive assistant to the president. And I said, I don't want to lose my professorial rank because I really want to continue to be identified in the classroom. So I worked out an arrangement with him after talking to my family about the opportunity. And my family supported me. Worked out an arrangement with him where I did that half-time and taught half-time. So I was teaching two classes and working with him. And I thought that was going to be, after a while, after I've done what he wanted me to do, I'll go back into the classroom. But a year later, we have a management board in Tennessee at that time, which is called Tennessee Board of Regents. They moved their meetings from side to side across the state of Tennessee. And at that time, they were supposed to come to our campus to have their meeting. My president said to me, okay, why don't you help me facilitate this meeting? And after which we can talk about your going back to go to your professorial rank. We did that, and at the end of the meeting, I made the presentation, identified everyone else that was part of putting that meeting together for us. As it turned out, the next week, the head man, who's called the chancellor of the entire universities in the state, called him and said, who was that guy that made that presentation, that led in putting this meeting together? And I also understand he's also an economist. I said yes, and he's talking about going back to the classroom, and I brought him in to help me out and blah blah. Just give him the entire story, and he asked to see me. So I had to drive about 40 miles because his house in Nashville and I'm in Clarksville. So I drive to 40 miles to see him. And he said to me, he has a task that he would like for me to help him lead, which was basically a challenge to talk about two schools that were in the city of Memphis that have not been getting along so much, and he's trying to find a way to bring them together. I want to show that economically it makes sense. And wants me to use my economic knowledge to be able to come up with a study to show that. And as such, he wants me to move to his office and give me a title, special research officer to the chancellor. Again, I went to my family and I said, look, this is going to be tough, and my wife said, fine, go ahead and, I'll do it. This is just a temporary thing, let's do it. So this, looking for, they advertised for vice president for academic and student affairs at the Southern University system. Okay, that's important because it's a different Southern University system. At that time, the president was President Dr. Tava. So I just applied, and I didn't hear anything. I I just blew it off. I didn't worry about it. And I applied like in October. I didn't hear anything. And in January, I got a call that I got to try to. They want to talk to me. So I told my wife, I said, I got to go to Louisiana to talk to these people about this opportunity. I mean, I just didn't give it much of any credence in the sense that I just believe that, they don't know much about me. All they have is my curriculum vitae and all that. But when I got here, he was impressed, pleased, made some calls, and before I could get back, he said he told me later he had arranged for me for interviews to cover about a 3-4 week period. I was the second person interviewed. He was supposed to interview 3 other people. After he checked my reference and I got back, he decided to cancel others and offer it to me in about 48 hours after I got here. Mm-hmm. So
you came in as the vice president
for academic and student affairs
in this Southern University system.
Yeah, but then they were pleased with my work, so they decided to ask me after Katrina to step up and take on this challenge and move me here as the chancellor of Southern University at New Orleans.
Okay. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's a long story, but
Victor Upolo is in line to take over as chancellor of the university. Upolo was formerly the vice president for academic affairs on the Baton Rouge campus. The board of supervisors must approve Upolo as their choice next week.
Suno is here, and Suno will rise up and will be better, greater in future years. And we're going to start doing that January 1.
He drives it with an iron hand, but he's a super leader. He is the best thing that ever happened to Suno. And I would say that to anybody. Mm-hmm. Because, number one, he has a repertoire of knowledge in terms of how to deal with money. I have a hard time keeping up with my checkbook. So I really respect and admire that. And he also has a determination and a commitment to excellence. And I really appreciate that too. Okay. Now there are times that you Paula come here and say, Rose, why didn't you do so and so? But I know that's part of his drive for excellence and to make it happen yesterday. Because he's been here only a few months and people all over the community are talking about the difference that they have observed, and I've observed a big difference.
Not only is he a good leader, he's a good follower. And he wants results, and I like that about him. And maximizing the resources and not having individuals waste time and going after what I call a larger picture, not just for today, but for the next generation. And that's what I preach, is that we have an obligation to ensure that this university is here for the next generation. I'm a product of this university, so I have a vested interest to ensure that it's here. I've got a daughter that's a senior and a son that's finished from here. So and that's part of the uniqueness of this university as compared to some other. It takes take the kids wherever they are, give them the tools they need, and have them go out and compete in the world market.
My impression of him is that he's very highly innovative, very highly motivated. He comes up with ingenious ideas to obtain his goals. When he comes up with his ideas, he wants the people working with him. He doesn't always bulldoze things on you, but he really listens to suggestions, and once we have decided that this is what we will do, he loves people to move on and get it done.
He is a very focused chancellor. He is driven to make sure that we get back to our main campus. We're here on this North Campus temporarily, but he, like all of the rest of us, we want to go home. Dr. Upolo is the person we need at this time. He has a fresh set of eyes. He could see things differently, but yet he can see some of the same things that we see. He is a technology person. I think he is the person we need for this time. Very, very focused. We say that he is just a ball of energy. I used to say that I was on skates around campus, but with Dr. Upolo, I've moved from skates to gliders. It gets me around a little bit faster.
He's a man very human in his dealings with the faculty and with the students. He's a man of the people. And he has brought in new life, new blood into the university, which will make us work. He is the engine driving whatever thing we do here at the university.
He came to us with a different perspective. He was not affected by the crisis like most of us were. So that gave him the ability to think freer, because many of us were worried about personal loss or personal issues, but he was not encumbered by that. So he was able to think freely, and he had a place to stay. So that made him to be committed to staying with us longer. He came in earlier and left later, which is something most of us could not have boasted. And one thing I know about him is his wisdom. He's very smart. He's very intelligent. He's someone who's able to think through a situation and come up with that third dimension that most people would not think about. Some would think black and white. He would think black, white, and gray. And so that's really the creativity we need to be able to move us along. And he's been able to bring that energy, that focus to the table. I've tried to come to work before him. I've never been able to do it, because I've tried to come at 7 o'clock, he's already here before I get. And I've tried to leave later than him. Most times I'm still not able to do it. So this is a guy that is sold out to the cause of Suno. He's someone who's committed to it, that has brought a new energy, a new vibrancy to the organization that we never had before.
It's probably coincidence, but we couldn't help noting that it was right after the Katrina disaster that Suno hired Dr. Victor Upolo to become its chancellor, to lead the university through the recovery period. A hard-working, highly disciplined, and highly focused individual, Dr. Upolo is exactly the kind of leader an institution needs in great moments of challenge and even despair. This trait is not unconnected to the general Nigerian trait of hard work in hard conditions. When you have struggled your way out of a population of over 150 million Nigerians conditioned to hard work and excellence, and acquire the best of education in America, you can face just about any challenge, including heading a university. This is a tribute to the Nigerian upbringing and to one man who has beaten all the odds to reach the pinnacle of his field. In the next episode of Tall Drums, we will feature Suno as an institution and further explore Dr. Victor Upolo's task of rebuilding this fine institution. That's our show for this week. I am Ugoji. Until next week, I wish you justice, peace, and liberty. May you become all that you're destined to be.